Okay, so let's get into this. You sent over that news report, the one about the fatal stabbing in New Seelampur, Northeast Delhi. Really tragic stuff.
Yeah, it's incredibly concerning. A 17-year-old, Kunal.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we thought we'd try and look beyond just the headlines, get into the potential causes, the background, maybe the wider implications.
Right, because it feels like there's more going on here than just a single isolated crime. It might show us something about the local dynamics there.
Let's start with the main event itself. Kunal was stabbed multiple times, apparently, last Thursday evening. And the police are suggesting it might be a revenge killing, possibly linked to, gang rivalries. That sets a pretty dark tone straight away.
It really does. And then there's this figure, Zikra, who gets mentioned. They call her Lady Dawn.
Right, Lady Dawn. What's her connection?
Well, the report says she used to be a bouncer for the wife of a jailed gangster, Hashim Baba. And now, apparently, she's trying to build her own network. Maybe 10 or 12 young guys following her.
Okay. So that suggests maybe shifting power or new groups trying to establish themselves.
Could be. These local networks often rely on intimidation, controlling disputes. It points to that kind of environment.
And the victim's family, Kunal's mother, Parveen, she's pointing fingers directly at Zikra, isn't she?
Yeah, quite strongly. She claims Zikra was actually there at the scene. And she even mentions Zikra, quote, used to roam with a pistol.
Wow. And Parveen insists her son had absolutely nothing to do with whatever happened to Zikra's cousin, Sahil.
Exactly. She's adamant about that. It's a grieving mother making a very serious accusation.
So the police motive theory connects back to this cousin, Sahil.
That seems to be the main line of inquiry, yes. Sahil was assaulted earlier, apparently, though he survived. And the suspicion is that Kunal might have been involved in that assault.
Ah. Okay, so this stabbing could be retaliation for the earlier incident.
Potentially. It shows how these things can escalate, one act of violence leading to another within these circles.
And have they identified suspects in Kunal's killing?
The report says CCTV footage identified Sahil, the cousin who was previously assaulted, and someone named Rihan as the main suspects.
Okay, so Sahil is now a suspect in Kunal's death. And what about Zikra?
She's been detained, but interestingly, not formally arrested.
Detained but not arrested. What does that usually suggest?
Well, it likely means the police are still investigating her exact role. Was she directly involved? Did she order it? Or did she just know about it? They're probably trying to pin that down.
And didn't the report mention she had previous legal issues?
Yes, she was booked under the Arms Act before, apparently for flaunting a pistol online. She was out on bail for that.
And living near Kunal's house, reportedly.
Yeah, that's what the report said. Adds another layer to the context, doesn't it?
Definitely. But this isn't just impacting the families directly involved, right? The whole community seems affected.
Absolutely. There are reports of rising tensions, people actually leaving their homes because they're scared of more violence, maybe retaliation.
That's serious, having to flee your own home out of fear.
It is. And the authorities seem to be taking it seriously, too. They deployed the Rapid Action Force.
Right, the RAF.
Yeah.
That indicates a significant level of perceived threat. And there were protests, too.
Local protests, people wanting justice, but also likely reflecting the fear and uncertainty gripping the neighborhood.
And then there's this really worrying element, the communal undertones starting to appear.
Yeah, that's deeply concerning. The report mentions posters going up with messages like, Hindus are migrating.
How does something like that start? How does a crime, possibly rooted in gang rivalry, suddenly get framed in communal terms?
Well, in tense situations like this, especially after a violent crime involving people from different communities, existing social fault lines can be easily exploited. Sometimes external groups or even individuals within the community might try to push a communal narrative. It can obscure the original reasons and unfortunately just deepen divisions.
And predictably, the politicians are getting involved. The report mentioned the BJP and AAP pointing fingers at each other.
Yes, the usual political blame game. But as the report rightly points out, for the residents caught in the middle of this, it's not about politics. It's about their safety, their survival.
There's often a huge gap between that political noise and what people on the ground are actually experiencing.
Exactly. Their immediate concerns are about safety, about fear, about the community potentially fracturing. Political statements don't always address that reality.
Okay, so let's try and summarize. We had this tragic stabbing of a teenager, Kunal. The police suspect it's revenge linked to gang rivalries. There's this figure, Lady Dawn Zikra, potentially involved or influential, with links to existing and maybe emerging power structures.
Right, and her cousin Sahil, previously assaulted, is now a key suspect, along with another person, Rayan.
The aftermath is a community living in fear, some even displaced, and then, layered on top, these dangerous signs of communal tension emerging.
Yeah, and the political back and forth happening in the background.
It really paints a picture of how complex these situations are in dense urban areas. You've got local power plays, cycles of violence, community fear.
And how quickly a criminal incident can get tangled up with much larger social and political issues, potentially inflaming communal divides.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What happens to a community's sense of safety, its social cohesion, when all these elements, gang violence, fear, political exploitation, and communal narratives collide like this? What are the long-term scars? Something to definitely ponder beyond just the news cycle.
Absolutely. It's a complex web with potentially lasting consequences.